The dawn of August 24th, 79 AD, rises no differently than any other summer morning on the Bay of Naples. The golden Mediterranean sun begins to tint the red-tiled roofs and vibrant walls of Pompeii, one of the most precious jewels of the Roman Empire. We see thin wisps of cooking smoke drifting up from luxury villas, and hear the rhythmic clatter of horse-drawn carriages beginning their roll over the flat, basalt-paved streets. In the distance, standing tall like a silent guardian, Mount Vesuvius appears cloaked in lush greenery, with sprawling vineyards covering its slopes. None of the 15,000 residents here know that this monster has been sleeping for 800 years, and that this is the final morning they will ever see the sun. We begin our journey at the Porta Marina, the main gate leading into the city from the sea. The air here is thick with the scent of salt spray, fresh fish, and the sweat of hundreds of slaves hauling amphorae filled with olive oil and premium wine. Pompeii is not just a city, it is a bustling commercial hub, a vacation destination for the Roman elite. Look at the walls. They are far from silent. Everywhere are graffiti scrawled in charcoal or etched with knives from advertisements for gladiators and the laments of those in love to fiery election slogans. Everyone, vote for Marcus Caecilius Marcellus. One hastily painted line still glows with fresh pigment. Venturing deeper into the center, we enter the Forum, the heart of political and religious life. Here, the white marble columns of the Temple of Jupiter glisten in the light. Lawyers are engaged in heated debates. Moneylenders are counting silver denarii, and aristocrats in snow-white togas stroll with measured grace. But if we look closely, we see small cracks in the buildings. Only 17 years ago, a devastating earthquake ravaged this place, and Pompeii is still in the process of rebuilding. The sound of stone chipping and the sharp rhythmic strike of masons' hammers echo everywhere. They are striving to beautify the city, completely unaware that they are decorating a massive tomb. Suddenly, a strange detail emerges to interrupt the hustle. Rats begin to scurry out of the drainage tunnels in broad daylight. Birds that usually chirp in the cypress trees go silent or fly frantically toward the south. Underground, pressure is building to a terrifying degree, but to the people of Pompeii, these are merely signs of a sweltering summer. They are so accustomed to the earth's tremors that they have grown to disregard them. This is the cruel irony of history. Their adaptation has become their death sentence. We see a young woman buying a garland of jasmine at the market. She smiles at the vendor, the heat of the ground beneath her feet seeming like a mere passing sensation. A reality shock is imminent. In less than 12 hours, this entire scene of vitality will be frozen forever in a silent death. The morning transitions into a sweltering afternoon, and the city's pulse quickens with the feverish energy of Roman commerce. We move away from the grand temples of the Forum and into the narrow, bustling arteries of the commercial districts. Here, the true wealth of Pompeii is on display. We enter a Falonica Roman laundry where workers are treading on clothes in large vats of fermented urine, the ammonia acting as a primitive but effective cleaning agent. The smell is pungent, a sharp contrast to the fragrant oils drifting from the nearby public baths. Just a few doors down, we step into a pistrinum, a bakery. The air is thick with the scent of charred wood and freshly leavened bread. We watch as heavy lava stone mills, turned by blindfolded donkeys, grind grain into flour. On the counters, 80 loaves of bread are being pulled from the oven, stamped with the baker's seal, loaves that will be found carbonized but perfectly preserved. Nearly 2,000 years later, money flows through these streets like water. Through the city's advanced lead pipes, we see a wealthy merchant, a freedman who has climbed the social ladder, entering his House of the Veti. The walls are a gallery of vibrant crimson and deep ochre frescoes, depicting myths of gods and heroes. In the central atrium, fountain splashes cool water, luxury provided by the Great Sereno Aqueduct. This is a society of extreme contrasts. While the elite reclined on silken couches, sipping wine cooled with snow from the mountains, thousands of enslaved people toiled in windowless cellars. In the city's amphitheater, the largest in the region, the roar of the crowd echoes. We watch as gladiators, the celebrities of the ancient world, prepare for the evening's games. Their sweat is collected in small vials, sold to wealthy Roman women as a potent perfume and aphrodisiac. But beneath this veneer of Mediterranean luxury, a terrifying reality is unfolding. The city's wells, which have served the population for centuries, suddenly run dry. The sulfurous smell of rotten eggs begins to seep through the drainage system, a silent warning of the volcanic gases rising from the depths. Yet, the Pompeians, masters of the natural world, interpret these as mere omens to be appeased with sacrifice. We see a priest at the temple of Isis pouring a libation, pleading for the return of the water, unaware that the very tectonic plates beneath his feet are grinding toward a catastrophic release. Suddenly, the ground jolts not a tremor, but a sharp, violent crack that sends a decorative statue toppling from a pedestal in the market. For a heartbeat, the city goes silent. The laughter in the tavern stops. The baker pauses with his peel. Everyone looks toward Vesuvius. A thin wisp of gray smoke, like a Mediterranean pine tree, begins to rise from the summit. It is 1:00 p.m. The Roman senator Pliny the Younger, watching from across the bay, would later describe this as the moment the sky began to die. The transformation has begun. The city of life is about to become a city of ghosts. The clock has struck 1:00 p.m., and the world as the Romans know it is beginning to tear apart at the seams. A sound, deeper than any thunder and more primal than any war drum, erupts from the summit of Vesuvius. We see the mountain's peak, literally, blow apart, launching a colossal column of superheated ash, pumice, and volcanic rock 20 miles into the stratosphere. To an observer like Pliny the Younger, it looks like a giant Mediterranean pine tree, its trunk reaching for the heavens before branching out into a dark, suffocating canopy. But for the people on the ground in Pompeii, it is the day the sun disappears. Within minutes, the bright Tyrrhenian blue of the sky is replaced by an unnatural, sickly twilight. Then, the first stones begin to fall. Not rain, but lapilli, small, white, porous volcanic rocks. They are light at first, clattering like hailstones against the ceramic roof tiles of the villas. We watch as children in the streets look up in wonder, catching the gray stones in their hands, laughing at the novelty. But the laughter doesn't last. The white stones turn to gray, and they grow heavier, denser, and hotter. The air becomes thick with a fine, abrasive dust that stings the eyes and coats the lungs. Every breath feels like swallowing glass dot in the forum. The orderly Roman world descends into primal chaos. We see a wealthy magistrate stumbling through the gloom, his white toga now stained a ghostly gray. He is shouting for his servants, but his voice is drowned out by the roar of the mountain and the screams of thousands. People are tying pillows to their heads with linen strips to protect themselves from the falling debris. We witness a moment of heartbreaking decision. A mother stands at her doorway, looking at the street choked with running bodies, then back at her elderly parents who cannot walk. She chooses to stay. It is a moral dilemma repeated in every household: loyalty versus survival. The sheer scale of the transformation is terrifying. Pompeii, a city of color and light, is being erased in real time. By 5:00 p.m., the accumulation of ash and pumice is already 2 feet deep. Doors are becoming jammed shut by the rising tide of stone. The roofs of the grandest houses, designed to withstand rain, but not the weight of mountains, begin to groan. Suddenly, We hear a sickening crack. The roof of a crowded tavern collapses, burying dozens of people who thought they were safe inside. The darkness is now total, a starless, moonless void broken only by the orange glow of lightning generated by the friction in the ash cloud. An unexpected fact that many forget: the eruption also triggered a series of mini tsunamis, making the city's only exit a churning, impossible wall of water. The city is no longer a home, it is a trap. As the clock strikes midnight, Pompeii is a landscape of shadows and terror. The city is buried under 6 feet of pumice, and the silence of the night is broken only by the terrifying groans of collapsing timber and the distant, rhythmic roar of the mountain. We find ourselves in a small, windowless cellar beneath the grand villa. Here, a group of 20 people, men, women, and children huddle together in the dark. They have made a fateful choice: to stay and wait for the storm to pass rather than risk the lethal rain of stones outside. We see a father clutching a bag of gold coins and the keys to his house, his knuckles white. To him, these objects represent his life's work, but in the face of Vesuvius, they are merely heavy weights. This is the moral dilemma of the final hour. What is worth more, your property or a slim chance at survival in the unknown? The contrast between wealth and poverty has never been more irrelevant. In this basement, the master and the slave breathe the same suffocating dust. Above them, the city is being crushed. Those who chose to flee toward the coast find themselves in a different kind of nightmare. The sea has retreated due to the seismic activity, leaving fish flopping on the seabed, only to return as a series of surging waves that smash the wooden hulls of escaping boats. We watch as people stumble over the rising mounds of ash, their lanterns flickering out as the oxygen in the air begins to fail. The atmosphere is now a toxic cocktail of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Then comes a moment of profound human tragedy. We see a young couple, later known to archaeologists as the lovers, huddled in a final embrace. They are not choosing to die, they are choosing how to face the end. In these final hours, the social structures of Rome vanish. There are no more senators, no more gladiators, only terrified humans seeking a hand to hold in the dark. Suddenly, the nature of the eruption shifts. The towering column of ash, now miles high and weighing millions of tons, becomes too heavy for the thermal gases to support. It begins to collapse under its own weight. This is the moment of the initial surge. A glowing cloud of superheated gas and ash, a pyroclastic flow, begins to tumble down the slopes of Vesuvius at over 100 miles per hour. It isn't a slow burial anymore. It is a high-speed avalanche of fire. Those waiting in their homes hear a sound like 1,000 freight trains. They have seconds to realize that the stone walls they trusted are about to become their ovens. The promise of safety has been a lie, and the mountain is coming to claim its prize. At 7:30 am on the second day, the final transformation begins. The sky above Pompeii is no longer a canopy of falling stones. It is a roiling, incandescent wall of death. The towering eruption column has finally collapsed, and a sixth, massive, pyroclastic surge, a cloud of superheated gas and volcanic matter, roars down the mountainside at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. We see the surge hit the northern walls of the city like a physical blow. This is not a slow burial. It is an instantaneous annihilation. The temperature within the cloud reaches a staggering 300 C 572 F. In a heartbeat, the oxygen is sucked out of the air, replaced by a searing heat that causes thermal shock. We watch as the surge pours into the streets, flowing around the grand columns and through the open atriums of the villas. The humans caught in its path do not have time to scream. Their bodies are flash frozen in their final moments, a mother pulling her child close, a man clutching a bag of silver, a dog chained in a courtyard struggling against its leash. The heat is so intense that it causes muscles to contract instantly, twisting limbs into the pugilistic pose we see in the plaster cast today. It is a haunting, cinematic stillness. One moment, there is the desperate sound of footsteps on ash. The next, there is only the low, hungry hiss of the cooling volcanic flow. The scale of the destruction is absolute. This final surge is so powerful that it topples the upper stories of buildings that had survived the earthquakes and the weight of the pumice. We see the grand temple of Jupiter shattered, its marble statues decapitated by the force of the wind and debris. The lush vineyards of the previous morning are gone, replaced by a gray lunar wasteland. By the time the surge settles, Pompeii is buried under nearly 20 feet of volcanic material. The coastline has been pushed back by hundreds of meters, and the river Sarno has been diverted into a new, choked course. Everything that made Pompeii a living, breathing city, the smell of the bakeries, the shouts of the election, the laughter of the baths is gone. It is as if a giant hand has reached down and erased a segment of the Roman Empire from the map. As the dust slowly settles over the next few days, we see a few survivors from the surrounding countryside wandering the gray dunes, looking for landmarks that no longer exist. They stand over what used to be the city's main gates, completely unaware that 10 feet below their sandals, a whole world is trapped in a state of suspended animation. The mountain has finished its work, leaving behind a silence that will last for 1700 years. The silence of Pompeii remained unbroken for over 17 centuries. As the Roman Empire crumbled and the Middle Ages gave way to the Renaissance, the city became a myth, a ghost story told by farmers who occasionally struck marble with their plows. But in 1748, the earth finally gave up its secret. We watch through the eyes of the first excavators as they brush away the volcanic ash, revealing not just ruins, but a moment in time perfectly preserved. The frescoes still glow with that famous Pompeian red. The bread is still in the oven, and the mosaic of a dog still warns visitors to Cave Canem, beware of the dog. It is as if the city had simply been holding its breath, waiting for the world to remember it. The emotional climax of this story, however, isn't found in the gold or the marble, but in the plaster. In the 1860s, archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli realized that the decomposed bodies of the victims had left hollow cavities in the hardened ash. We watch as liquid plaster is poured into these voids, bringing the dead back into our world in their final, agonized poses. We see the Garden of the Fugitives, where 13 people died together, huddled against a wall. We see the child resting on the stomach of an adult, and the man covering his face in a futile attempt to filter the searing air. These aren't just statues. They are a direct, haunting link to a Tuesday afternoon 2,000 years ago. Today, Pompeii is more than an archaeological site. It is a mirror. As we walk through the modern-day ruins, we see the ruts in the stone streets worn down by Roman wheels, and we realize how little has truly changed. We still seek the same comforts: good food, a warm home, the company of friends, and we still live at the mercy of a planet that is far more powerful than our greatest technologies. The tragedy of 79 AD is a reminder of human fragility, but its preservation is a testament to our enduring identity. Vesuvius still looms over the modern city of Naples today, a sleeping giant that remains one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world, threatening millions who live in its shadow, just as the Pompeians once did. The story of Pompeii is a full circle from a bustling metropolis to a buried tomb, and finally to a global monument. It reminds us that while empires fall and mountains erupt, the human story is etched in stone, waiting to be told. If you found this journey through the final hours of Pompeii hauntingly beautiful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the vanished worlds of our past. What city should we unearth next? Let us know in the comments below. For now, the gates of Pompeii remain open, inviting you to walk the streets where time itself once stood still.